G'day everyone, I am the man called Kimmer, Sabi the man with the plane from Land Down Under, and this is my list of the top 10 crowdfunded comic books of 2020 so far. Quickly before we begin, I want to make it clear that this list is limited to books I've actually read, and that tends to mean books that have a digital tier. If a book doesn't have a digital tier, or if the digital tier was really exorbitant, I won't have read it, and obviously I won't have a shot at being on this list. Here then, in no particular order, are my top 10 books for 2020. The prototype for crowdfunding success, Lim and Pellegrini are professionals who underpromise and overdeliver every time. Steadily building support for their IPs, they are approaching the point where they can command six figures on a campaign. Like a lot of crowdfunded creators, they are spreading their product across both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. This is sometimes met with some pushback from the Comicsgate crowd, many of which are staunchly Indiegogo only after Kickstarter's poor treatment of your boy. Lim and Pellegrini released 2 Cayman America books in 2020. The comics are fun, fast-paced, light-hearted and wholesome. Perfect reading to help battle the lows of 2020. Cayman America fits into the wider universe that includes Walmart and the Black Ops series. These combine together to create a coherent, easy-reading, pro-American suite of comics that are very easy to pick up and enjoy. Cayman America 3 is close to completion and should be coming to Kickstarter early in 2021. If you like down-to-earth superheroes with traditional values and comedic elements, manga-influenced art and classic American spandex storytelling, Cayman America might be your jam. The smartest sci-fi to come out of comics in years, Terra Olympus is the creation of Stephen Koch, with art by Von Randall. Stephen is an engineer and brings his scientific knowledge and know-how to the fore in this 2-part series that looks at a possible future where mankind exists solely on space stations after Earth was left uninhabitable. Political intrigue, governmental interference, and the schemes of the elite clash with a cast of very real, very believable characters. Combined with Stephen's obvious interest in MMA and combat sports, you get intense fight scenes, smart sci-fi, realistic and engaging engineering, and a well-thought-out world that is eminently believable and readable. The first comic I ever reviewed, The Napalm Brothers, is a favourite of mine. Obviously, that's why it's on this list. Napalm Brothers is psychedelic gonzo exploitation storytelling of the highest order. It's post-Nam blues, junkie sex sells revenge cinema. I wish Tarantino had the balls to adapt this thing to the silver screen. When Paco and Coop's buddy Dwayne is killed, they start a revenge-fueled rampage across the state, full of dangerous women, tigers, gorillas, and grenade launchers. This book is both poetry and bold four-colour escapism, philosophy and titillation. Its roots are firmly set in the underground comics and blaxploitation movies of the 70s. But it has a modern mind for storytelling and incorporates current technologies to colourfully wrap the package for our consumption. In an age where people are calling for the fun to return to comics, I would like to point out that the Napalm Brothers exists. Your prayers have been answered. More classic superhero fare, Perfect 10 by Dave Brink and Power Rodriguez, is more in the Danger Girl vein, the 90s good girl craze that rose up in response to the earlier bad girl craze personified most prominently by Lady Death. In response to Brian Pulido's stable of bad girls, a crop of good girl heroines popped up, just as sexy, but with more positive, upbeat outlooks, determined to overcome and not be dragged down by personal demons. Perfect 10 is a throwback to this kind of storytelling. It's easy to follow, engaging, classic comic book storytelling with colourful villains, clearly defined good guys and bad guys, and amazing art and action. It sets up larger storylines and hints at a vast, well-defined world of superheroes and supervillains. When I say this book would be right at home in the 90s, I mean that in the best possible way. It's the biggest compliment I can give it. More traditional superhero storytelling, this time in a coming-of-age, coming-into-power tale, resembling the best aspects of Peter Parker's journey into manhood and the responsibility his abilities shouldered him with. Punchline is the tale of a modern teenage girl granted incredible superpowers through magic. While the colourful costumes, one-liners and spandex-clad situations we are all used to are prominent, it is a modern storytelling that is the greatest achievement of this book. Beyond the growing into a hero storyline, there is deeply entrenched intrigue, long-running storylines and clearly well-planned-out events in place that keeps the reader invested and keeps them coming back for another book and another. Punchline is top-tier, self-contained storytelling. Everything I said about Punchline I'll say again for T-Bird and Throttle. Masterful, self-contained storytelling. When Astrodor, Mitch Maddox, is killed by moon-based aliens, a powerful, otherworldly engine merges with him, bringing him back to life and gifting him with incredible abilities. He becomes Earth's most prominent hero, and that's when things start to go wrong. T-Bird and Throttle is a redemption story. Powerless, broke, overlooked, T-Bird is struggling to make ends meet after a scandal ended his superhero career. This book is like a great whodunit, with slow-burn mystery and reveals amid scenes of a nearly broken man trying to be the hero he once was. It's Bronze Age storytelling with modern sensibilities that deal with current issues without being too political. Both Punchline and T-Bird and Throttle are the sorts of comics you want to read if you want to write better superhero comics. One of the most unique books to come out of the indie scene in 2020, Kairi has the same DNA as classic European comics, the mythical, mature books with historic roots that draw upon the cultural identities of nations. Creator Matt Krotz is a one-man band, writing, drawing and lettering the book himself. Kairi has notes of Jason and the Argonauts, Hercules' Journey, and Asterix books. Less comedic and more high stakes, these books are a refreshing read, reminding us that on the comic page there are virtually no limits to what can be achieved. A complete story from page 1 to the very end, a twisting, grimy, intimate whodunit set in the heyday of Americana, blacking out is a perfect mystery thriller from the title to the last page. It has great art evocative of the era and a character who is as unlikable as he is sympathetic. It's very much got a movie script repurposed into a comic feel, but this time that's not being seen as a bad thing. This comic captures the feel of similar cinematic features and should be mandatory reading for anyone who is a fan of private detective stories or 70s crime fiction. A bizarre, one-of-a-kind amalgam of Ninja Turtles and the zaniest of classic Viz comics, Mary Boys is a beautifully rendered love letter to old Blighty. If you are British or a citizen of a Commonwealth nation, there's probably a lot in here for you to enjoy, beyond a fondness for cricket and a cup of tea. The oversized pages are painted in a traditional ink wash, lending to an amazing artwork you can spend hours poring over. The comic is a mix of larrikin culture, grudging adherence to the church, and a double finger to large-scale global corporations, and that's just the first issue. Hints of satanic forces behind the big business mean that the Mary Boys, each named after English royalty, and their splinter-like father figure and mentor, Father Parish, will have to fight for the soul of their hometown when Mary Boys returns in 2021. If T-Bird and Throttle and Punchline are the gold standard for quality, well-thought-out storytelling, then Lone Star must be the gold standard for fun. Heavily reminiscent of Bronze Age storytelling, this book pits a classic patriotic hero against one of the oldest, most prevalent forces of darkness in literature, vampires. This mix of immortal veteran superheroes against the living dead is incredibly effective, and the intense, limb-shattering violence of the fights is balanced with the wholesome development of Lone Star's relationship with a waitress at the local diner. It's so wholesome, so much like classic late Silver Age scenes of Peter Parker and Matt Murdock. These powerful heroes, lifesavers, men with agency and responsibilities trying to connect with someone from the human race. There is something universal about these themes. Maybe we can all relate to the struggle to connect with others, the distance responsibilities placed between us and others. What is universal are the themes of one man being responsible for the lives of many, one man who fights evil because he can't not, one man who knows all it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. This is heroic fare, plain and simple, and comics could do with more of this and less proselytizing on the dangers of holding the quote-unquote wrong politics. There's a time and place for political comics, but it's not all comics all the time. We need comics to be fun. That's what Mike Miller has delivered in this book. The Lone Star story isn't finished yet, with another book up for funding right now. That's my 10 best crowdfunded books of 2020. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which of these books do you think belong here? Which ones do you think I should have included that I didn't? That brings us to the end of the video. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you join me next time. Please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already, and take care.